I think I'm just gonna loosely start talking about why this session might be quite good. And then we might just wanna flow in, right? Because unfortunately it is so short, and I really think, yeah, it'd be nice to start talking about it. So I think, especially with, the last 2 weeks have been really tough, right? With all the global events, but also on the residency, and we're all worn out, etc. And we're so many, and it's actually quite hard over Zoom for us, we all don't see each other face to face, and it's really hard. And I was really happy when George posted the Adrienne Marie Brown video, because I've come across her work in the past. I've actually not read her book before, but I've seen lectures before, and I just thought, God, yeah, this is so good. This is so what we need right now, really. She's just such an amazing woman as well, and I wish she could do this for us here right now, but it's got to be me. But I just love the way she just creates this trust, and this is all built from all the work she's done with the Ruckus Foundation, I think, where she just worked with communities, to fight social justice. And I think then she just wrote down all her sort of learnings together into this book. And she does some amazing YouTube videos as well. And I really urge you to maybe look at them. But just to sort of now officially maybe start this session, I'm looking at my notes now, so I'm not looking at anybody. And I just want you to all sort of notice how you are in your body. Are you well rested, not judging, or this just feeling how you are? Don't judge how you are, just check in with yourself. And look at all of us that came here together on Zoom, trying to help each other to change. This session is of non-judging. So Adrienne Marie Brown is an American writer. She wrote Emergent Strategies, which I sort of just do a few readings from. But she's also a doula, a women's rights activist, and was executive director of the Ruckus Society, they work hands-on with communities, fighting social justice, human rights, migrant rights, workers' rights, and environmental justice. And I think through this sort of work, she's come across all these sort of hardened positions, I think, and she had to sort of get people to talk to each other. She had to sort of do all this mediation work, right? And through this, she developed these collaborative strategies, and sort of came to the sort of concept from micro to macro, sort of what you change in your smaller environment, you radiate out. So I'm gonna just go straight quite fluidly and sort of read some bits and then come back to my own sort of stuff. Wherever you're beginning this, take a deep breath and notice how you feel in your body and how the world around you feels. Take a breath for the day you've had so far, and a breath for this precious moment, which cannot be recreated. Now another for the day and night coming. Here you are in the cycle between the past and the future, choosing to spend your miraculous time in the exploration of how humans, especially those seeking to grow liberation and justice, can learn from the world around us how to best collaborate, how to shape change. Octavia Butler, one of the cornerstones of my awareness of emergent strategy, spoke of the fatal human flaw as a combination of hierarchy and intelligence. We are brilliant at survival, but brutal at it. We tend to slip out of togetherness the way we slip out of the womb, bloody and messy and surprised to be alone, and clever, able to learn with our whole bodies the ways of this world. So all the stuff we're facing at the moment, yeah, all the radical changes we had to have this year already, yeah, how do we adapt to them, you know? There's all the stuff with COVID, there's the fallout that happened to you guys, yeah, in terms of studying and all the pressure and, you know, us all being distributed and dispersed. But how do we sort of actually respond to it? Yeah, how do we adapt in these situations? So how our response to change and how we stay adaptive, reacting versus shaping, see each other as shape changers. So in this sort of situation here right now, we're all together in this residency. And, you know, sometimes we don't agree with each other, you know, but we can all learn from each other, you know. Every one of us is a shape changer for the other person, kind of thing. And she's sort of really sort of making people look at, I mean, in some of her workshops, she pairs up strangers, total strangers, you know, and she's literally asking people to remove their sort of elevator pitch and just sort of say, you know, tell each other who they are as a person, you know, and where they're coming from, you know, and what actually made them the way they are, right? And she's really sort of really encouraging us to sort of just look at to be adaptive, all the small biodiverse creatures that live in each other, all around us, right? Look at all these creatures, right, that are doing really well in these situations, you know, like flies, ants, the moths in my house. The moths, the bane of my life, you know, they adapt much easier, you know, and what can we learn from them? We're all here to look out for each other and to learn from each other. So I think she always really sort of encourages people to sort of see themselves as, you know, rather than competing against each other, just learn from each other, right? And this might make little steps backwards and forwards, but, you know, ultimately, if we all sort of somehow bind together, like the ants who sort of, you know, climbing on top of each other to sort of, you know, get to land or swim together, etc. If we're sort of becoming like this, we can actually all help each other and create something that's much more sort of sustainable, where we can try, where we can let each other, you know, we remove the pressure basically, you know, and sort of somehow bind together. My dream is a movement with such deep trust that we move as a murmuration, the way groups of starlings below dive, spin, dance collectively through the air to avoid predators. And it also seems to pass time in the most beautiful way possible. When fish move in this way, they're shoaling. When bees and other insects move in this way, they're swarming. I love all the words for this activity. Here's how it works in murmuration, shoal, swarm. Each creature is tuned into its neighbors, the creatures right around it in the formation. This might be the birds on either side or the 6 fish in each direction. There's a right relationship, a right distance between them. Too close and they crash. Too far away and they can't feel the micro adaptations of each other's bodies. Each creature is shifting direction, speed, and proximity based on the information of the other creature's bodies. There's a deep trust in this, to lift because the birds around you are lifting, to live based on your collective real-time adaptations. In this way, thousands of birds or fish or bees can move together, each empowered with basic rules and a vision to live. Imagine our movements cultivating this type of trust and depth with each other, having strategic flocking in our playbooks. Adaptation reduces exhaustion. No one bears the burden alone of figuring out the next move and muscling towards it. There's an efficiency at play. Is something not working? Stop, change. If something is working, keep doing it. Learning and innovating as you go. As an individual developing your capacity for adaptation can mean assessing your default reactions to change, and whether those reactions create space for opportunity, possibility, and continuing to move towards your vision. I'm not of the belief that everything happens for a reason, at least not a discernible one. It comforts me sometimes to know there is chaos, there is nonsense, but I believe that regardless of what happens, there's an opportunity to move with intention towards growth, relationship, regeneration. So learning to trust that little shifts and the adaptations lead to the bigger goal. Yeah. So not, in these sort of situations from friction to sort of just sometimes, trust that it'll be okay in the long time, that these are little minor setbacks, but our goal is still that goal, shift the focus from the short to the long term and trust the micro changes. And then she also sort of talks about sort of functional democracy. How do we make decisions as a collective, And, I think for this sort of, she really utilizes these sort of tools where she pairs up strangers, and gets them to talk as sort of real people, so they're not what they've achieved in their life, but what made them who they are, kind of thing. So we all understand each other as better as persons. Non-linear and iterative is something she talks about in the book a lot as well. So iterative practice, we may all know, obviously from coding a lot, but iterative practice in her world very much means as well that you have to practice what you want to become. So you look at sort of your smaller micro community, you look at, maybe your family or maybe you and your friendship circle, and that you remove the tension or sort of, the arguments there, sort of resolve them and be a really tight unit. And then you sort of radiate out and you radiate out to the street and then the community, etc. And that sort of all these sort of actions work like that, you practice what you preach, really. So that's what that sort of iterative practice is about. And I think it's also about sort of, allowing yourself to fail, but then you can get up again, right? And also allowed to forgive. Forgiveness is, I think, a big one as well. And just keep the conversation open. And then she really talks about the importance of ideation as well, and sort of conceiving together, imagine the world and conceive together. And I think this is quite an important aspect in her work as well. And I think this is kind of very important in this world we're living right now, right? It can get so frustrating. We are all just sometimes feel defeated by what's happening, and what does my voice mean, and it's all like fucked anyway, right? What can we actually do? But especially in these moments, it's so important to actually imagine that better world. How would that really work, right? And how do you integrate that into your microcosmos? And what sort of changes do you make as a person to actually make that happen in your little micro unit so you can actually radiate it out to the others? So she writes, collaborative ideation, what are the ideas that will liberate all of us? The more people that collaborate on that ideation, the more that people will be served by the resulting worlds. Science fiction is simply a way to practice the future together. I suspect that is what many of you are up to, practicing futures together, practicing justice together, living into new stories. It is our right and responsibility to create a new world. Yeah. So collaboration in a co-creating way, letting go of hierarchy, letting go of moral superiority, because we're all in this. No one has everything all on one side. Harm happens on multiple levels. Tension means life is changing. She talks a lot about tension being a good thing, right? often, so if we walk away from tension, yeah, but tension is a good thing, right? Because tension means something is changing, yeah. And the important thing is that both parties in that tension are actually up for working it through. But so she sees tension is a good thing. We love engaging in struggle and critiquing each other. This played out majorly on Blackout Tuesday, right? So we all sort of, we all got massively caught up in it. Who did the right thing, And we're all probably like beating ourselves up, some of us, or beating others up, and it created all these different fronts, and they're obviously understandable on one level, but they're not helpful in moving forward. So we need to learn to deconstruct, but how do we build or rebuild as well, right? So they're both important things in this process. Principled struggle is I'm in a struggle with you because I want to build you up, because I want us to grow together. So trust in that when we deconstruct each other, we are also here for each other to build ourselves up again, together. Ask questions before you issue critique. Transform yourself before you transform the world. It's so easy to point the finger, but we're all hugely contradictory. And that we all know that from ourselves. We all know that we're having huge contradictions. None of us is perfect, we all know that. See each other as shape changers. Somehow we're all on this path together. And this, so relevant in this residency. I mean, we all, all thrown together here, and we will look back at this time, and it's going to be really special. And sometimes it's going to be really hard, but in the end, afterwards, we will look back at this time and how intense it was, but also how we've changed as people from that interaction with each other, I suppose. And I'm good as I am. We don't choose what body we're born in. So let these assumptions fall away. We are the toxic systems in our life. I'm trying to relinquish. What are the toxic systems in my life that I'm trying to relinquish in my life? We all have these. And it's important to just look at that, look at them. What are the toxic systems? Where do we default? Where do we go wrong? Just monitoring yourself, like seeing yourself in this big group of ants, yeah, and how can your actions then sort of work better for the group, I suppose. We're all here together. We all have the right to take up space. We need to impact each other with the reality we are. We are tasked with making the revolution irresistible. Make this happen today. Don't make this a plan further down the line. Enjoy the grittiness. So, yeah, that's, I think, really where this bit ends, I suppose. And I just really hope that you be able to check her out, check out some of her talks. I think she's really, really helpful in the times we're going through, especially when we're at despair with the world, and just, sometimes, when we come loggerheads, she's a really great resource to check out and just listen to her. She's such an amazing person. I can only recommend it. And it's also really great, just in your practice as an artist, really, because all this stuff you can bring back to, your own personal practice, really, how the daily actions of coding, build up to the bigger picture, the bigger idea, right? Or, interactions with other people in group projects. So I think it's really, really a great thing. And thank you, George, for posting it and bringing it back into my mind, because, she's an amazing person. So now I think the time is, so now unfortunately, without further ado, we should maybe go straight to Alexis Pauline Gumbs, who did this beautiful meditation I stumbled across on social media, really. Alexis Pauline Gumbs, I guess most of us know her. She's an American writer. She wrote the M Archive. She's also a poet and political activist. And she posted this thing on social media, which I picked up on about this sort of like collective breathing meditation. And it's a whole series and you can buy it. I think we missed the deadline now, but she's got this little one, which I checked out. And I really liked it because I love to check it out also over Zoom with all of us and how that played out. And to sort of bring this back as the bookend to the end of this week, really, it's really something that I very briefly brought up with Kaiken because I asked him about this collective consciousness, which I read in one of the articles. And I didn't make my question very clear, really. I had it more sort of in mind that it's like the collective consciousness of the wider world through their filters and their projects. But they sort of probably more answered it within their sort of practice. But I'm really interested in this sort of collective consciousness online, really, sort of on, over Zoom, how does that play out? So I am trying to work out how to best do this now, because I'm sort of wondering whether we want to launch this in our own browser or shall I screen share? But I'm kind of worried. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I don't know, do you think your internet connection will hold up to screen sharing?
I can try it. I'm just saying, I should be able to do it, but
do you want to give it a go and then
and we can always I do it, okay? So.
Cool.
We've got 10 minutes left and oops, sorry. Right, we got 10 minutes left and I think we should all sort of sit comfortably. And, chanting is not everybody's cup of tea. I totally appreciate if it's not. And you might just want to sit there, right? And that's cool too. But if you can sort of join in, that'd be really cool too. I think it'd be a really sort of mad, powerful experience over Zoom. So I'm gonna...
Can you maybe just turn your video off?
Okay, I'll do that. Hang on. Yeah, that's
cool.
Really good idea.
No, save bandwidth.
Sorry.
Thank you.
No, I'm happy to do that. I'm trying to find it. Okay, cool. Is that okay?
Yes.
Good. Right, let's go. And we might be cut off because the session stops and then we're just cut off, right? And we talk about it another time. All right?
Welcome, loved ones, to the reboot of the Black Feminist Breathing Chorus. This is Keep Breathing. I'm Sister Dr. Alexis Pauline Gumbs, and I'm honored to share with you a technology that has allowed me to reprogram my breathing, to infuse my life with the messages of the Black revolutionary ancestors who inform my practice of Black feminism. Our first meditation is in honor of the great writer, filmmaker, and cultural worker, Toni Cade Bambara. Toni Cade Bambara is best known for her novel, The Salt Eaters, her multiple collections of short stories, including Seabirds Are Still Alive, gorilla my love. And our mantra for today is something Toni Cade Bambara said in an interview with another great cultural worker, Kalamu Ya Salam, about the relationship between revolutionary creativity, ideas, and practice. And what Toni Cade Bambara said in this conversation, which is also included at the end of her preface for this bridge called My Back, is that the most effective way to do it is to do it. So if there's anything that you have been overthinking, if there's any area in your life where you feel insufficient to a task that you know is part of your purpose and your calling, I'm inviting you to operationalize the wisdom of Toni Cade Bambara and let that go. We're going to repeat the mantra, the most effective way to do it is to do it, 108 times. And so I invite you to get into a comfortable position. Notice your breathing as it's happening right now. And repeat with me, or at your own pace, the most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way
to do it
is to do
to do
it.
it.
The most
The most effective way to do it is to do it.
The most effective way
way to do it is to do it.
The most effective way to
Way
do
to
it
do it
is
is to do it.
the most
The
effective.
most effective way to do it is to do it.
The most effective way to do it.
The effective way to do it is to do it.
The most effective way to do
The
it.
way to do it is to do it.
The most effective
Effective
way
way
is to do it.
to do it.
The most
The most
effective way.
effective way to do it is to do it.
The most
The most
effective way.
effective way to do it is to do it.
The most effective way to do
Way
it
to do it
is
is to do it.
the most
The most
effective.
effective way to do it is to do it.
The most
The
effective
most effective way to do it is to do it.
The most effective way
Effective way to do it
is
is to do it.
most effective
The
way.
most effective way to do it is to do it.
Effective way to do it.
Effective way to do it is to do it.
The most effective way to do
Way to do it
it is
is to do it.
Most
The most effective way to do it is to do it.
to do it.
Most effective
effective way to do it
is
is to do it.
The most effective way
Way to do it is to do it.
is to do it.
the most
The
effective
most
way
effective way to do it is to do it.
the most effective way
Effective way to do it
is
is
to
to do it.
the most effective
Effective way to do it
is to do
to
it.
do it.
The most effective way
Way to do it
is to
is
do
to
it.
do it.
The most
Most
effective
effective way to do it is to do it.
the most
Most
effective
effective way to do it
is to
is
do
to do it.
the most
The most effective way to do it is to do it.
the most
The most
effective
effective way to do it is to do it.
Is to do it.
the most
Most
effective
effective way
Way to do
to do it is to do it.
the most effective way
to do it
is
is to do it.
the
The
most
most effective way to do it is to do it.
the most effective way
Way to do it is to do it.
the
The
most
most effective way to do it is to do it.
the most
The
effective way
effective way to do it is to do it.
the most effective way
Way to do it is to do it.
the most
Most effective way to do it is to do it.
the
The
most
most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way to do it is to do it.
to do it
the most
The most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way to do it is to do it.
do it the most